what song's lyrics do you think in your life, of all the songs you've ever heard, really moved you in some way?
Oh, that's too hard.
No, it's not.
It really is.
How?
Because
give me one song. Is it like
many.
Morning has broken like the first morning?
I was a school teacher.
John Denver's full of shit, man.
I was a school teacher, so there was a lot of songs that I used to use for like graduations and stuff. So the first song that came into my head when you said that is Leanne Womack's
Womack and Womack?
No. It's just a woman called Leanne Womack.
Okay.
She's like a country singer.
Yeah.
And the song is I Hope You Dance.
Oh.
And it's so lovely.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like...
Give us a bar.
Oh, I can't. No, I'm going to
Give us a bar. People don't realise that you were a pianist and played the organ at church.
I did.
Right, so and you also sang.
And I did sing.
Okay, so
and I can sing, but I can't sing on my own. I'm really bad.
Okay, I'll sing along with you. I'll hum it.
You don't even know the song. Shush, shush, shush.
Teardrops in the mountain.
That's Womack and Womack.
Reminds me, totally baby, of you.
It's a totally different song. I'm talking about I Hope You Dance.
In my eyes. The next time I'll be true.
Okay, well, let's go with that.
No, go. I'm just trying to annoy you while you're trying to remember. Just fucking sing the song.
I can't remember the word. I'm trying to remember the words, but basically it says, oh shit, the words are really good. Like I hope
they sound like they've really been a fucking they've really deeply moved you.
I can't do this.
You can.
I can't do this with you in my ear, and I'm trying to think of lyrics at the same time. I need to actually get them up now.
Okay, get them up.
Can I get my phone?
I'll sing along while you're doing that.
No, that's not helping.
Oh, fucking hurry up. I'm getting old here.
You are old already, mate.
Okay, let's go.
I hope you...
You have to do it. Sing it. You got to sing it.
No.
You got to... No. Dude, I fucking waited this.
I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to eat, but always keep that hunger. May you never take one single breath for granted. God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed.
Oh, that's nice.
I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance, and when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance.
Nice.
I love that song.
Great
I used to use it when with the clients, not clients, with the kids that I was teaching when we did like end of year stuff. It was so beautiful. And I still sometimes cry at that song. I love it. So that's one.
Who sang it?
Leanne Womack.
Right, of Womack and Womack.
Yes, sure. You go with that. My God. So we weren't expecting that anyway. So what were we going to talk about today? Okay, yeah. Well, I think this is a good segue into it. Actually,
is it? Okay,
yeah, cool. Because
don't put me on the spot.
We were talking last night at dinner. We had one of the ladies ask us a question at the end of dinner, and I thought it was quite a good question. And she said, "What?" What do you two like the most about each other, and what pisses you off about each other?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we ended our dinner with that. And it was actually quite a good question. And I thought today we might talk a little bit about, I think just how we push ourselves to grow. I think people sometimes, like even the other day, yesterday, somebody else came in and went, "You have issues with communication?" I went, yeah. Like, it's like people think that just because we do what we do, that sometimes we know all of the answers and we don't have any of the struggles that other people have. And we have all of those struggles. We just have I think what we do is we have how I consider it is that we have a baseline, and that baseline is always improving and always we've worked on that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As individuals, as in a relationship, a working relationship together, in a friendship together. So we've got the baseline, but that doesn't mean we don't, fall off the wagon or we don't struggle with certain things. Do you know what I mean? And I think the both of us are very keen to continue to grow and continue to learn with what we've done, what we know, but we still argue. We still fight. You still annoy me when I'm trying to think of lyrics to a song. And I think it's important to understand and to bring a level of reality to what that looks like for us. Do you know what I mean? And for us and our growth.
Yeah, I think that people. Every now and then someone come up and say to me, "So based on all the work that you've done." And this is actually not this is a male voice. Based on all the work that you've done and the fact that you're so elevated, and and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm not elevated. What does elevated mean? And I'm a person that has children and trials and tribulations and cycles and all that sort of stuff. And I do what I do to optimize my experience here in the world and with life, but it doesn't mean I don't have problems with my wife.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean my wife doesn't have problems with me. It doesn't mean I don't have problems with you and Mills, and it doesn't mean that you don't have problems with me. We have problems, and problems are important because the quality of your problems is determining the quality of human being you are,
and the level of your growth. So,
but it also shows you where your growth is.
That's exactly right.
It shows you how far you've come, but it also shows you how far you have to go.
Yeah, and so I think even with us, like over time, our degree and our level of arguments has improved significantly. Like we would go out, we would argue for the first 4 days.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then spend 3 days going and actually writing because we were actually arguing the same point in a sense. But
we would definitely after 4 days realise. Oh, we were actually saying the same thing. We were just saying it in a different way.
And the quality of that has improved, and it's not because it's basically just really learning how to express yourself in a different way. We were 21 years younger when we first met, so my level of expression and understanding and stuff has transformed in that time.
Yeah.
I'm not the person that I was 20 years ago. You're not the person you were 20 years ago. So there's things. So I think one of the things that people potentially don't realise about us is that we coach people, but we also have our own coaches to push us in our own growth. It's so important to not just be okay with the level of growth that you're currently at. You're always going to be working on yourself. And I think every person in their human development journey, after a certain amount of time, they're like, I feel like I've worked on myself so fucking much. When is this ever going to end? And everyone gets to that point, and then I think that the real growth happens when you get that it's never going to end.
Well, I also think that if you're doing PD work to get to an end, then you need to just stop.
Yeah, that's not the purpose of PD work. And I think that's a realization that comes when you get to that point. You're like, shit, I'm not doing it to get to an end. I'm doing it because I want to continue to be the best version of myself. So, for us, we have so many skills and so many abilities to be able to shift our mindset on certain things. We have the tools and the strategies, and sometimes you just need somebody that's outside of you to hold you accountable to some of those things, right? And so for us, I know for me personally, one of the things I realised, and it took a coach to help me to see that, is that I had spent, like I've been doing this work for 20 years. So if you were to ask me about my growth 20 years ago, and the transformation of who I was 20 years ago, I'd say, I'm a different person now. I put myself first because I never used to do that before. I put myself first. I look after myself, right? And then it turns out that looking back, I was holding on to a realization that I kind of had 20 years ago. And I did have a transformation back then, but there's lots of little transformations that have happened since that I hadn't really given weight or value to. Does that make sense? And I'd held on to this version of myself and gone, actually, I was thinking that was transformation, but this was transformation, and this was transformation, and this was transformation. Does that make sense? It was like I thought that how I was, I was holding on to that version and that transformation me, instead of going, actually, there's other levels of that I've done incrementally. I labelled that as a transformation because it was a leap, but I didn't see that there were these little small transformations that were happening along the way. And incrementally.
Yeah, so I think, I think it's that thing of familiarity eventually builds contempt in terms of, you know, the experiences that you have that allow you to transform through time, because as we go through, we revert back to the old places in which it worked for, things worked for us back there. And that was one of the, I found that was one of the things that was happening for me over time, especially turning from 49 to 50, 50 to 51.
Such a big gap. A big step, transformation step for both of us, I think.
Yeah. 49 to 50, 49 is it's a real change in a person's life. And so I really realized that I was holding on to that, and it was costing me. And I'd attended seminars and I was like, fuck, I feel like, you know, I knew so much, and now I'm getting to the point where I don't know. What I know doesn't hold any weight anymore, and I was like, okay, I'm hungry to know more. And then I had to go, okay, well, in knowing more, where do I want help? Where do I want assistance? Where do I want to? And it's you know, we spoke about this in one of the other podcasts, but that desire to not sit in the potential and to not sit in the uncomfortableness of I don't know what's going to happen. But that's where the magic lies. You know, we want to keep running back to, okay, but so this is what we do. And, you know, this is the be all and end all. This worked back then. But that's costly. And I think that this past couple of years has really been about going, okay, I want to be in charge of my own discomfort. Yeah. So I want to create, because growth and comfort can't occupy the same space. So I want to put myself into uncomfortable positions so that I can grow and learn more. Put myself into situations where I'm afraid, where I have to feel like, fuck, you know, I don't know what the fuck is going to come out of this. Am I on track? Am I doing the right thing? You know?
I think, and the thing is, I think we were doing that to a point prior to the, I think we were. There were definitely points but I feel like 49 really pushed that next step. And I think part of us, I don't know about you, maybe I'll just speak for myself. Part of me felt like, because I was the coach and because I did this work, that I couldn't necessarily ask for help, or I couldn't necessarily say that I was stuck in a certain area. I felt like I only had a small group of people that I could really own up to some of that stuff with, you know. And I feel like that in the past few years, that's really expanded, and I've been okay. Because Brene Brown said it beautifully at one point about how you can't help other people if you don't prepare to ask for help, because then you're basically saying these people are no good because you shouldn't ask for help yourself. Do you know what I mean? So when you are okay to ask for help, you understand and you put yourself in the shoes of somebody who needs a little bit of help, and we all need that help. We all need that ability to put ourselves in a position of vulnerability to be able to grow to that next state. And I think we were doing it at small levels, but I think what had happened was, I think we hadn't.
Can you give me a time when you think we were doing it at a small level?
Yeah.
Well, I was doing it where you saw me doing it at a small level.
In terms of personal growth?
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I think for you is that, particularly in years gone past, you know, you and I would have some pretty big and deep conversations about different things, and you're very open to listening to certain things. Sometimes you find it difficult to integrate at times, in terms of...
I've heard something, but I haven't been able to integrate
put it into reality or put it into practice in a way that maybe... But I feel like you're definitely very open to hearing those things. Do you know what I mean? And I think incrementally over time, we've learnt and we've grown through some of those processes, and we've had people around us that are outside of our sphere to help us with that stuff over time, like different people, different scenarios.
But do you see that? I think in the past 2 years, we've really gone at it.
Oh, 100% differently. Because I don't know whether it was when you turned 50. For me, it was when I turned 49, because it was like that 49 leading into 50 was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I need to get serious here. I've got to take a whole new leap. So there was stuff physically, there was stuff emotionally, there was stuff financially, there was all these different things. I went, okay, I have to look at that area of my life. I can't now use an excuse that because I do this work that I'm not worthy of getting a little bit of extra help, or somebody with a different perspective to come in and help me with with seeing something that I haven't necessarily seen. And the people in my environment, while I value them, you've been in my environment for 20 years, so you're caught up in some of my stuff.
Yeah.
I need, as much as I can listen to you and hear what you've got to say, I also need people who don't know me to come at that from a different perspective. A non-biased perspective to go, hey, Mills, X, Y, Z, like, have you thought of? Do you know what I mean? And oftentimes it's stuff you already know, but it's just putting it into practice. Do you know
hearing
what I mean?
it from someone else makes you hear it differently.
It makes you hear it differently. You don't
and it
see
also
that there
confirms
is a taste.
that, okay, what I'm hearing is obviously...
It's on track, you know.
Yeah.
And I know for you, a lot of your transformation really came from a place of you being... wanting to work on yourself first, you know, and I know that you did a lot of that transformation on a physical perspective. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you really got, I was telling you about saunas for years and you were like, eventually you went and got yourself a sauna and you love that, right?
Yeah.
And now you've got your ice bath.
Yeah.
You're doing your ice baths every day still, are you?
As often as I can do
often
them,
as you're home and you can do it, yeah. So I know that I think when even 4 years ago, you mentioned ice bath to you, I'm like, no fucking way.
Oh, yeah.
You were like,
fuck no.
Dude, I grew up in Ireland. There's no fucking way I'm getting into the cold.
Yeah,
and then I remember before you got your ice bath, I was around at your place and you're standing and you're shivering in your pool like I'm practicing getting into the cold. And that's a real,
just
it's
so
a
you know,
physical
that was 7
thing.
degrees.
Oh, yeah.
7 degrees fucking cold.
Oh, it's cold, yeah. The ice bath is colder now though, isn't it?
5 degrees.
Yeah. But the thing is that I think what happened is that that we mentally have to push ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And I think there've been times where we have been that mentality of like, no fucking way, the ice bath I'm not going to do that because it's just too much mentally. And then, you know, it was because of how you got into the ice bath the first time that I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. If Mitch can do it, anybody can do it. Do you know what I mean? Because you just got in with your focus. You got in your focus and you got in your zone and you were to do it. But I think that I
wish I had fucking 2 speakers plugged into my ears.
Oh no!
To
I
broadcast
could tell that
to the world what I was saying to myself at that moment.
I know that you weren't breathing properly. You were still in that.
I know.
That mode.
I know. And the funny thing is that voice in my head, and the ice bath is just anything that pushes you outside your square.
Correct.
The ice bath is coming to a seminar. The ice bath is speaking to an equilibrator, speaking to a coach. The ice bath is exactly the same thing.
It's saying being in a place of vulnerability, asking for help.
And the funny thing is that, you know, my voice in my head when I'm in the ice bath is actually really logical. You know, it's like, okay, Mitch, that's good. Yeah, you're in now. Okay, but you can get out now. Okay, you only really need to do 30 seconds. So come on now, just get yourself out. Just put your arms out. Don't worry about what that other voice is saying, which is shut the fuck up and stay in there and don't budge until that alarm goes off. No. Don't listen to that, Mitch. That's ridiculous. You know, the science says you only need to do 30 seconds. You don't need to do 2 to 3 minutes.
So you spend 3 minutes doing that.
That's what my head, and it doesn't fucking stop. It's just, and it's really logical. And it's like Jordan Peterson speaking to me.
Really?
Yeah. It's Mitch Peterson telling me to get the fuck out of the bath.
So,
but I think that you know what that builds, that builds in me an ability to handle high pressure situations.
It's a mental thing though, right? So I think what happens is that, you know, that whole top down, bottom up thing we talk about, right? It's you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and we've done that over the years in different ways. Like I did 75 hard, and 75 hard is a fucking slog, right? Yeah. And it is for the 75 days. Then you have a break, and then you do another 30 days. The next 30 days is like hell on earth, right?
Really?
Hell on earth.
So they do 70 and then
75,
30.
and then you have to take a month off, and then you do a 30 days. But the 30 days you add in on top of those things. You'd add in on top of the 2 exercise sessions for 45 minutes. So you're exercising an hour and a half every day. One of the 45-minute sessions has to be outside, plus reading a book, plus taking a progress picture, plus following an eating plan, plus no alcohol and things like that, right? I did that 75 days straight, and I refused to start from scratch. And so I just made sure, like I remember in bed one night going, I haven't taken the progress picture, and I had to run out like at 11 o'clock at night to take this progress picture because I forgot it.
Really?
Right? And I thought, because I am not starting this fucking thing again. There's no way. So 75 days of that. Then you have to take a break, and then you go back and you add in 3 activities, a visualization and a cold shower and all these other things. That was hell on earth, those 30 days. Anyway, point is that everyone thinks it's physical, but it's not physical. It's mental. It's like the mental capacity to know that you can put yourself under this much pressure and you can do it. Now, fast forward past that time, I loved that I did that because I felt like I needed to do that to show me that I could handle that stuff mentally.
Yeah.
But now it's like my mental capacity to get up, move my body, do all the things I need to do, not because a program is telling me to do it, but because I get to do it.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world and a whole different ball game. And that's my growth and my challenge. Do you know what I mean? Like you have that level of growth, and now it's like, you know what? That is not for me. Like, me having to do that is not aligned. Now I have to go, I'm doing this because I'm listening to what my body's looking for. I'm listening to when it's time for me to move. I'm listening to what foods I have to eat. I'm listening to the way I have to exercise and move my body in order for me to have the most outcome for it. Does that make sense? But the energy is the same. The energy is still that mental pressure and that mental guidance to be able to do what's right for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what do you think is the most challenging thing you're facing right now in terms of your own personal growth?
In terms of my own personal growth, that's a big question. I think, I would say right now is consistency, staying consistent, staying on target, continuing, that's that really being able to master the ability to tell that fucker in your head to fuck off.
In terms of what? Are you talking just in terms of physical growth, or are you talking about mental, relationships,
in terms of consistency,
finance,
in terms of
anything?
Consistency, staying consistent, when your head goes, man, just go and buy that thing.
Right.
Mate, don't worry, it always comes round. Or Mitch, don't buy that. Don't do that deal because you're gonna, you're putting everything at risk. Don't, you don't need to go out there today. Like, fuck, honestly, dude. You just exercise. Your body is fucking sore. Your body. I just had a text message from Justin, and I've been talking backwards and forwards with him about some of the stuff that I'm doing, and he said to me, "Oh, dude, you make sure you don't burn yourself out because if you're training 6 days a week, you can get burnout, and you don't want burnout." Yeah. Now I know that's my brain manifesting that conversation with him to tell me that.
Yeah.
But I know when it's time to stop and have a break, and when it's time not to, and I know when it's tricking me to stop, when I actually don't need to stop because I'm okay to keep going.
So it's about navigating what the voice out there and the voice in here.
Yeah, the dialogue.
So for you, it's consistency overall.
Yeah, staying on top of that game.
Right. But it's not just physical, it's everything. Everything.
Eating,
all the, financial, relationships,
parenting, like alcohol's not a problem anymore. Partying's not a problem anymore. All of that stuff, that's not a problem anymore. Food is not a problem anymore. But I know that at any minute it could be a problem.
Right.
Does that make sense? So being able to...
So staying consistent.
Because it's that thing in your head can be very sneaky. It can be just one little subtle thing. And one subtle thing becomes 2 subtle things, which becomes 3 subtle things, which becomes a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And so being able to really stay disciplined and consistent, and allowing myself to understand the reward when that's happening. Mitch, remember what the reward is when you're consistent. Remember what the cost is when you're not. Because the cost is fucking high. That emotional cost is fucking high, and everybody gets affected by it.
I think for me, there's an element of the consistency, but it's more how I communicate to myself if I'm ever off track, whether that's when in a conversation, whether it's communication, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, whether it's work, anything. It's that my mind works in an all or nothing kind of way. So I'm either in or I'm out. There is no grey area. So for me, working in the grey is very important. And by what I mean by grey is that it's kind of the same as what you're saying. It's that, you know, it's like so pedantically perfect or not perfect. Do you know what I mean? It's like that if I fall off, then I just automatically go over to this side, which is the not perfect part, right?
Yeah.
Instead of going, actually, no, that's totally fine. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like, no, I have to get up every morning. I have to go for a walk. I have to this. I'm really finding the energy of just doing it because I'm really wanting to.
Yeah.
And, you know, that week we were getting up like at the crack of dawn every day. And I was, you know, we were, you know, exercising in the afternoons and stuff like that. And it was fine. Do you know what I mean? And then there was one particular day that I was bone tired, like extra bone tired. And if I had been on my all or nothing thing, it would have been just like, just no right today. But then it would have been no forever, like for another week or so, 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Instead of, hey, it's just for today. The next day I'm fine again. Do you know what I mean? Like being able to be okay to have that ebb and flow for me is important. And I think also for me is just really, I think, like I said, turning 50 has been a big, like, I feel like I'm a different person. I'm not a different person, but I feel like I'm a different person in the sense that I'm not who I was 5 years ago. And actually just learning that and being okay with me being all of who I am, I think is the biggest part of my growth at the moment. Just being okay with the fact that I am who I am, and I've had levels of that all the way through. But I think my growth and my journey is just being, yep, this is who I am, and I'm actually okay with this new version of me, or this iteration of me. The era that I'm in right now is perfect for where I'm at, and my growth is going to be reflective of that. Do you know what I mean? And it's okay for me to grow from that perspective. It's okay for me not have been here before and to be learning and growing from in the version I am now, if that makes sense. Because I think for me, the level of conversations and the level of communication I feel like I want to have now that I'm 50 is just totally different.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not tolerant of stuff that I was tolerant of before, that I allowed before, or that I kind of just brushed off before. Now I'm like, I find myself not being. It's not that I'm not tolerant if. Like, I think if anybody is growing in the space, I think that's fine. But I'm really, really much more respectful of my energy and my time and my, like, the type of conversations I want to have. You know, we were at dinner last night. It was such a great conversation. Like, you can have really good, high-quality conversations. I'm okay with small talk as well, but not for the sake of... Like, I really am mindful of who I want to be around.
We've said, you know, it's funny because we now have a dinner club where we go and have dinner ourselves and 8 other people, which is good. I think that's a really important thing to do, because one of the things that I found was happening for me was cognitively, memory was, I wasn't functioning as well. I wasn't, you know, my brain was starting to fill in all the gaps. Yeah. And I was becoming very linear in what was going on. So I found now that since I've pushed myself outside my limits, it's not that I'm less tolerant. I just don't have, you know, huge conversations about snot. My conversations, and I'm okay to be quiet. I'm okay when people are doing that trivia stuff to be quiet. I'm also okay when I'm just talking shit with the boys. Yeah. There's time and place for that too. Just to talk shit and have a laugh. Yeah. But I'm also okay to really explore conversations around our potential and who we are and what we're doing. And I've you know, and I obviously I don't pour myself in on top of people, but you know, when I like when people, you know, have conversations about, okay, this is what's going on, you know. Yeah. When a buddy asks, hey, how did you go on that session, or how did you go with that plant medicine, or how did you go, really being able to delve into that, and I think that's been one of the things that as we grow, we push that process, because people think as they grow that they're going to fucking lose people. They're going to lose their family members. They're not going to. And the truth about it is you know, I went through a phase where I wasn't that close to my family because I was growing, but now I'm close to them again, and you know, I'm okay to talk about my growth. And I was trying to hide it from them rather than going, hey, this is what's going on for me. This is what I'm learning, and this is really inspiring to me, and it's helping me.
Do you feel like you can own that? Do you have the same thing with that I do, that part of you doesn't want to own up the fact that you need some help sometimes because of what you do?
I definitely. I mean, but that's a long time ago now. You know, I don't see growth as help.
I don't mean it like help. I mean it like that somebody outside of you.
Somebody outside of me has done things that, and if you know, has dug some paths that I can learn from those paths.
Yeah.
But
so you've never really you don't really feel like you've got you don't have that thing of I'm supposed to have all the answers necessarily.
I think I mean, there's a part of that voice and ego in my head that
does sometimes.
I'm meant to have all the answers for everybody. But I'm enjoying the process of not having all the answers, learning answers so that I can share them with people,
more
you know,
of that,
because I think that's been
valuable.
very valuable and enriching to the clients and to everybody that we get to work with.
Yeah, cool.